Welcome to Believe in Rams, part of the Believe Network. Erin Coscarelli with you, my guy, Tyler Dragon, USA Today. Lots to get to in this show, but first and foremost, you know the drill. Subscribe, comment, rate, follow this podcast. There's so much to still talk about, despite the fact that we are not going to see actual game footage on the gridiron, okay? Catch us on Believe TV. Follow us on the socials. Erin and Tyler joining you. It's been a minute since we've had a show. Well, I guess that's not true because we were all over Super Bowl coverage for Radio Row. Ty, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Good. I think I'm officially recovered from New Orleans. I know you're not all the way recovered yet, but you're almost there. It was good seeing you down there in New Orleans. So.
Yeah, it was so fun. Happy Valentine's Day. We're both rocking our red. Mine just happens to be the color of like a rain jacket here in LA. It's been torrential downpour. But I love that, you know, like I'm your Valentine this year. That's so sweet, Tyler. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Always thinking of others. But Tyler's right. I did get sick when we were in New Orleans. Thank God it was the tail end of the trip, because before that, boy, I want to get your take. We have so much to cover on the show. We're going to try to get in and out as quickly as we can. We've got some interesting Rams rumors going around about Stafford. We're going to talk a little bit free agency, maybe Rodgers, where Rodgers is going, and a bunch of other stuff. But first, New Orleans. What did you think? I got a chance to see you at the Shannon Sharp party, and then we got to film some cool segments and interviews together. What was your take about New Orleans and Super Bowl kind of throwing a party?
Yeah, so I think maybe you had too many hurricanes. That's why you were kind of under the weather. No, I'm just joking. But I mean, wow, New Orleans was a great experience. I mean, so Super Bowl cities are kind of interesting because there are some where, whether it's in Phoenix or in LA, where things are just spread out and you have to go from one end of the city to another to go to these different type of Super Bowl events. But New Orleans, everything is just right there in the center of downtown. So you pretty much see everybody, all the football world congregated in one small place within like 5 square miles or so. So that is good. It makes for a lot of traffic, but you know, you get to see everybody, like you said. Great seeing you. Great seeing a lot of people from the Believe Network family and just the NFL world. So it was a great experience. The Super Bowl game, it was probably over in the second quarter. It was definitely over at the beginning of the third quarter. So that was kind of disappointing, the overall game. I did enjoy the Kendrick Lamar concert. I have to say that. But overall, I think Super Bowl 59 was a success overall for just us as a Believe, and of course for the Philadelphia Eagles. Congratulations to them for being Super Bowl champions.
Yeah. What was your take on that? Because I think, like you said, it was kind of over. I was happy. I was impressed. It just did seem like what was going on with Mahomes. He seemed like he was seeing ghosts. I was very happy for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, and the coach. I mean, just to see they finally were able to come across the hump, right? I mean, remember, this is a rematch from Super Bowl 57. Same two guys, same two teams, same two coaches. It was nice to see them sort of get a little redemption. What was your overall sentiment with what you think we saw out of the Chiefs? Because every single media outlet, when I was doing all those interviews, I'm sure you got asked a million times, and we did it ourselves. We asked everybody, who did we think? And I mean, 90% of people were like, it's the Chiefs until the Chiefs prove me wrong.
Right. Yeah, you're correct. I picked the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I was very wrong in that prediction. And when I was watching the Super Bowl, I kept on thinking to myself that this game is very reminiscent of what was that, Super Bowl 55, when the Chiefs took on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bucs front four just obliterated Kansas City's offensive line. And the same thing played out in Super Bowl 59. The Eagles front four with, Sweat and those boys. The offensive line for Kansas City, they just could not handle them. And it was really the left side of the offensive line. You put Tooney out on left tackle, you weaken the left guard spot, and then the Eagles just took advantage. I mean, it was just bad. Mahomes did not have any protection whatsoever. And it was really a simple game plan what the Eagles were doing. They were rushing with their front four, and they were playing cover 4, cover 6, almost the entire game. And Mahomes did not have any time to throw the football. And the Eagles took the top off of, the field because the Chiefs could not throw the football downfield. And Travis Kelce could not get open underneath. And that's a huge takeaway of this game if Travis Kelce lost a step or not. So I think, yes, Jalen Hurts was the MVP of the game, but I would have given the MVP to the Philadelphia Eagles defense because that defense dominated from start to finish, whether it was creating turnovers, having Patrick Mahomes under duress, sacking Patrick Mahomes, intercepting a pick 6 by Cooper Kupp. It was just a dominant performance from that Eagles defense. And it was eerie similar to Super Bowl 55 when the Chiefs lost to the Buccaneers, because yes, Tom Brady gets a lot of credit for winning that Super Bowl, but it was really the defense that won that Super Bowl for the Bucs over the Chiefs. And this was the same thing in New Orleans.
Yeah, I was so happy for Vic Fangio too, because I think the last time Vic was at the Super Bowl, it was in New Orleans, same setup, different team. Obviously, he was with the Niners, and it was John Harbaugh versus Jim Harbaugh when coach was a head coach of the 49ers. So I'm happy to see Vic Fangio get that. I think he's just been such a legend. And like you said, that was the theme and the storyline for the Chiefs all season long. And yet, for whatever reason, they were eking out these really close games. Mahomes sacked, a career high 36 times. So it was kind of like if there was a chink in the armor, it was going to be trying to keep Mahomes off kilter, off balance. And the Eagles, like you said, had the front four, had the pass rush to get it, to get it dialed up. And and Mahomes does not get the three-peat, and maybe 95% of NFL media were wrong and maybe lost not necessarily a ton of money, but I think a lot of people very surprised by the final score of Super Bowl 59. One of the things that we should talk about before we talk about it, though, are these rumors. Let's pay the bills really quickly, okay? BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. By the way, happy Valentine's Day. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL, UFC, BetOnline, it continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline's got you covered, odds, stats, and more for every game. BetOnline, the game starts here. Just because football is no longer on your TV sets does not mean that you can't go in on and check out BetOnline and get in on the action. So many different cool sports to still get involved in. One of the things I wanted to ask you, because you said, let's dive into some of those rumors. What is Travis Kelce coming back?
I think he's going to come back. I know he's kind of mulling retirement right now. It's hard for me to believe that Travis Kelce wants to end his career like that. He looked very old in that Super Bowl loss. He could not separate. I mean, he was just running slow, couldn't get in and out of his breaks. But he's still a productive tight end. He led the team in targets and receptions. So I think if he comes back next season, it's going to be kind of a different role, and he's going to have to adjust a little bit. Maybe he doesn't lead the team in receptions and targets. Maybe you take him off the field on third downs, or take him off the field, on multiple occasions of the game. Maybe limit him to 50 snaps a game. But you can definitely tell that he's past his prime. But I don't want to make that as a negative, though, because he is still a player who can be productive in this league and can still produce. So I think we're kind of being prisoners of the moment here because he had a terrible Super Bowl and probably a sub mediocre playoff run. But overall, when you look at his totality of work in the 2024 season, he still was arguably a top five, definitely a top 10 tight end in the National Football League. So should a top 10 tight end call it quits? Maybe not. Is he the best tight end in the NFL? No, but he's still a player that can still get it done in this league. So to answer your question, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, the other option is to be, like Taylor Swift's assistant and follow her around on tour. And I don't know if he's
That
up for
is
that.
disrespectful to Travis Kelce.
Exactly.
Taylor Swift's assistant.
Exactly. No, I mean, you become her full-time fangirl. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people wouldn't mind that opportunity. One of the things that happened, how did you feel about, just because I love stirring up the pot, how did you feel about Patrick Mahomes wearing the all green suit to the stadium?
I thought it was kind of a troll job by Patrick Mahomes, and maybe it was unintended, but to wear
Oh,
Eagles
Tyler,
colors,
stop it.
like I thought he was going in as the boogeyman, like wearing Eagles colors, and I'm about to steal the Eagles' joy during this Super Bowl Sunday.
That
But I mean,
Let me tell you something. That was premeditated. Okay,
it was
that was
premeditated.
that
Okay.
was totally planned. You got to take that suit to the tailor, and it takes it's not just some. Oh, you know what? Let me just pick this random color that happens to be the same color as my Super Bowl opponent. Look, when that stuff starts to happen, I start to root for the other. I start to root for the other team. I don't like it.
You were rooting for the Chiefs. I mean, the Eagles before he even wore
I
that suit.
was, but I was same as you. I said I thought that the Chiefs were going to win. I mean, it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. But when I saw that, I was like, ooh, he is taking a shot.
Yeah. Well, karma bit him in the butt.
Yeah, last time he's going to do that. Last time he's gonna do that. By the way, that's what I don't, it's like maintain humility. That's all I ask for. And I think Mahomes is a generational, one of a kind talent. But it's always so funny when these guys think that they're like almost bigger than the game. So if you didn't see it, Patrick Mahomes showed up before Super Bowl in New Orleans in a like bright green, well-tailored suit, and looked oddly just like the colors that the Eagles wear. So, I mean, bulletin board material when you show up and you want to like look all cute and stuff and take a shot. Listen, I'm gonna take note. Take note of that.
It is interesting that, most fans around the country were rooting for the Eagles. I get it, the Chiefs fatigue, but being inside the stadium during that game, it was crazy to hear the home field advantage for the Eagles. I mean,
Really? For the
even
Chiefs,
from the introduction, like the Chiefs were booed. You could hardly hear the introduction of the players, and the Eagles were just cheered the entire game. The Eagles had a huge home field advantage inside the Caesars Superdome. It was very apparent. The Eagles, very apparent during that game. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
I have never seen the Chiefs get outnumbered inside in a neutral field like that. I mean, the past few Super Bowls, it was probably about 50-50. Even like in Arizona, I would say maybe the Chiefs have more fans than the Eagles and that Super Bowl a few seasons ago. But this year, clearly on the Eagles side.
Yeah. I think, when, like you said, Chiefs fatigue, I think fans are like, oh, you know what? They'll be there next year. I don't need to show up. Or they're just, they're like, I don't need to cheer as loud because they don't need the help. And Eagles fans are notorious. They are loud. They are crazy. And they love their football. So congrats.
Even Taylor Swift got booed when they showed her in the Jumbotron.
Of course she did.
Kevin Hart got cheered because he was wearing Eagles colors.
Oh, did he?
But yeah, Taylor Swift got booed, and she even looked like, whoa.
Really? She's
yeah.
like, that's a first. Yeah. I mean, that's Eagles fans for you. That's the spirit of the game. You show up, you're taking one for the team, if you will. But I am excited for the Eagles. It'll be really fun to watch them continue to soar, hopefully not too much in the NFC, because there are some interesting things that are coming down the pipe in terms of rumor mill. Let's talk a little bit. Oh, really quickly too, before we move on. How cool was it that Jared Verse, obviously he got the defensive rookie of the year. Very cool when you think about, how hard Chris Shula and the rest of the Rams defense worked so hard. It was such a cool moment. NFL Honors announces honors and awards, MVP and, offensive player of the year. And Jared Verse in his rookie campaign gets the defensive rookie of the year. Very cool, right?
Yeah, congratulations to Jared Verse. And he spoke to the media after winning that award. And what stood out to me is he was motivated for more. He said this, award is not the end. And, I just want this award to be the beginning. So he's striving for greatness. He wants to be one of the best defensive players in all of football. And he's not going to just become complacent after winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. So that really stood out to me after he accepted the award, that he wasn't satisfied. Yes, he was proud of that moment and winning the award, but he wants more. He wants to be great in this league.
Yeah, and you have guys like Aaron Donald to emulate. So exciting for the Rams defense moving forward. Look, okay, let's get into it. Free agency, the draft. Free agency starts early March, draft April 25th, combine starts end of this month. So I think we need to chop up some rumors. Well, what was really interesting too, when you talk about free agency, Cooper Kupp before we get into Stafford, guys, because there's some interesting things to chop up with Stafford and what people are saying right now. But before that, his wide receiver, and maybe this is all tied together because Cooper Kupp announced the Monday before Super Bowl. I remember had just landed. He announced on his social media, not the Rams, and we kind of maybe saw this coming. Did you see it coming? That the Rams are looking, in fact, to trade Cooper Kupp this offseason. It's always so interesting that they do it right before the Super Bowl. One of the things that also happened was Myles Garrett announced that he no longer wants to play for the Browns. He's looking to go somewhere else. He wants to go to a competitor. I just, first of all, were you surprised to hear that from Cooper? And then why do these guys decide to take it in their own hands and make these announcements? And then when they show up for Super Bowl week, that's all, of course, the media wants to talk to them about. And Myles Garrett said, off limits. We're not talking about it. Right. I do not want to talk about it. I mean, it's like, make our job any harder, guys.
Yeah, the Super Bowl week news dump, not to mention Aaron Rodgers, the Deebo Samuel requested a trade. So, the Super Bowl media week news dump was crazy. But in regards to Cooper Kupp, I was a little bit surprised, to be quite honest with you. To me, I was of the belief that Cooper Kupp was going to finish his career with the Rams, whether that's 1, 2, 3 more seasons left. It is pretty obvious that he's not the receiver of old who won the Offensive Player of the Year award in 2021. Injuries have definitely taken a toll on his body. But even in that playoff loss to the Eagles, that catch down the field where he went over the top and high pointed the football and for a first down, he can still make plays like that. Is he a Triple Crown threat every single year? No, he's not. But he's a player that can catch 50 balls, have 4 or 5 touchdowns a year, and still be a 600 to 800 yard receiver in this league, and still a dynamic slot receiver. So it was surprising to me, given that the Rams obviously have Puka Nacua as their number one clear-cut wideout. Cooper Kupp is not a bad secondary option, whether that's a 2 wideout or a third option at that. So it was a little bit surprising to me. But when you look at his cap number, over $26 million next season, the Rams don't want to absorb that amount of salary cap hit. And so that's why I believe the Rams are going looking for a trade destination for him. However, I don't believe it's going to happen because a team is not going to take on all that money just to get Cooper Kupp. So the Rams are either going to have to eat up some of that salary or just flat out release him, and Kupp will be able to sign wherever he chooses. But it was a little bit surprising to me, given the history that both sides have with each other.
Right. And we'll talk about the Stafford rumors in a moment. But yes, absolutely. Like fan base, Rams fan base, Stafford family, very sad, I'm sure, and disappointed to learn that the Rams are looking to go in a different direction. But at the end of the day, it is a bottom line business. Cooper hadn't been fully healthy for an entire season since that 2021 season. And he's 31 years old and he's expensive. So I get it. I'm just curious and wondering where you think they'll go and what direction when it comes to, do they just find more guys later rounds of the draft, right? Jordan Whittington was a preseason darling. He's certainly answered the bell when his opportunity has come. How do you see that that wide receiver room looking now that Cooper's going to be gone?
Yeah, there are several solid free agents. Chris Godwin comes to mind. The draft, of course, the Rams could use maybe a mid-round or even an early pick to address receiver. They obviously know how to find receivers in the draft. You look at where they drafted Puka Nacua. But then you have players already on the team that you can re-sign to extensions. You can elevate to a number 2 role, like a DeMarcus Robinson had a nice year last year with the LA Rams. So to me, I do believe that they'll look in the free agency market for a secondary receiver, but primarily since the Rams tend to be going younger, I expect them to draft at least one receiver in the 2025 draft.
All right. Well, let's move forward to the draft because some rumors are shaking out. And I know my guy, Tyler Dragon of USA Today, Aaron Coscarelli with you. Okay. There's been tweets going out about Matthew Stafford. Per Colin Cowherd, I'm sure you saw the news, Ty, that the Rams want the number 3 pick from the Giants. Cowherd says the Rams don't want to restructure Stafford's deal, okay, because that's been a big point of contention, like it happened last year. It's most likely going to happen. And they're getting tired of his wife constantly talking to the public. Okay, the Rams could then, I'm just reading this as a tweet, so this is not my opinion. This is not my opinion. The Rams could then, are you enjoying this?
Yeah.
Okay, just take a sip of your coffee. I'm not done yet. The Rams could then look to trade down from 3 to acquire more picks next year to move up for a quarterback. How are we feeling about all of this? Is this because, so Lindsay, our producer, who is amazing, sent me a version of this. And then I did some more research on myself. I'm so tired of the rumor mill because remember, Peter Schrager, right before the draft, who's very tight with Sean McVay. I don't see how news leaks like this. I remember Schrager with that first round pick that the Rams had. I can't remember what number was it. Everybody was like, oh, Schrager's like, they're going offense. They're going to get an offense. And then of course they don't. They pick defense, right? So it's like, I don't know. How do you feel about all this?
So in general, NFL owners, coaches, GMs, they want your franchise quarterbacks to be like company guys. That's why you see like a lot of quarterbacks, they're very boring during the season. They have very boilerplate answers when they speak to the media. They don't go on the Pat McAfee show. They don't have their own podcast. Like that, there's a reason why the Jets are parting ways with Aaron Rodgers. There's a reason why these quarterbacks who talk a lot throughout the media, fan base, not so much fan base, but coaching staffs, GMs, owners, they grow tired of that. And so I can see why the Rams are getting a little bit tired of Matthew Stafford's wife going on podcasts, because generally they don't like that. They like their quarterback and their quarterback's family to stay out of the public eye, only speak during the mass press conferences and be company guys, be good representatives of the franchise. So there is validity to what Colin Cowherd is saying. However, I still believe that the Rams should keep Stafford. I mean, you look at this team, they just won the NFC West title. They were competitive with the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round. They are not that far off. If you get rid of Stafford, you're signaling a rebuild, and you're saying, okay, even though we won the NFC West, we're going to take a couple steps back for this 2025 season in order to possibly move a couple steps forward 1, 2, 3 seasons down the road. So to me, I think you should have Stafford in the building and then try to get your bridge quarterback in the first round of this year's draft or next year's draft. Maybe you part ways with Stafford after the 2025 season. But for this one more season, I think you run it back with Stafford, considering how close you were to being in the Super Bowl. You were competitive with the Eagles. You could have beat them. It wasn't for a last interception from Stafford where he threw the ball out of bounds. Didn't even get Puka Nacua a chance to catch the football in the snow, I might add. So, yeah, to me, yes, there's validity to what Colin Cowherd said. But when all the dust settles, to me, I think Stafford is going to come back for this next upcoming season, because they can't lose Stafford and Kupp in the same season and expect fans to have a legitimate hope and optimism that they're going to be competitive and still be in the running for an NFC West title in 2025.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is all great stuff. This is why, just despite the fact that there's no game action, the NFL still remains king, because things like this are so juicy to dice up and talk about. So Kelly Stafford has a podcast. I want to say it's called The Morning After. And yes, to play off what you said, if you Google it, right, if you just Google Kelly Stafford, it says Rams like front office tired of her discussing what the Rams should do with her husband's deal. And you make perfect sense that at the end of the day, they want you to sort of be a corporate guy and represent the franchise and not show a lot of, disgruntledness with respect to how they're handling business. So I agree with Colin's hot take. However, what you're saying makes a ton of sense, Ty, which is at the end of the day, is the guy producing on the field. If he is, I mean, you're willing to kind of put up a little bit, Rodgers' situation was different, I mean, it became like a dumpster fire over there in New York. So in my opinion, I think you're right. It's like, hold on to Stafford, draft his heir apparent, because Stafford's somebody you're going to want to, take a look at and sort of groom whoever the next guy might be. And I think just like hitting the dismantle button because somebody's wife makes a comment. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. So it'll be interesting. It'll be certainly interesting because, they do at the end of the day, Kelly or no Kelly Stafford comment, they do need to figure out what the future is for the Rams, right? Stafford just turned 37, I believe, this month. So they have to start thinking about that. Are they going to start thinking about that in the event this doesn't happen this season, or are they going to start thinking about it next season? And that's the big question mark for Les Snead and Sean McVay.
Yeah, the quarterback draft class this year is not considered to be very strong. And next year, it is considered to be a really good quarterback draft class. So with that in mind, if I were the Rams, I would hold on to Stafford this year and then wait till next year to really think about Stafford's heir apparent.
There you go. Real quick, we're going to talk about Rodgers and then we're going to wrap things up. But let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. First of all, it is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. All you do is pick higher or lower on your favorite player stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money. I made 6 picks during the 2 championship games. I played $50 and I had the opportunity to win almost $1,500 in return. So I find those types of games more fun because you kind of have to really be selective and strategic, and there's great parlays and all of that. So anyways, check out Underdog Fantasy. We'll give you a special promo code. Okay, it's Believe Rams. This promo code gives new users a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So play alongside us and make some money. All right. Last but certainly not least, Aaron Rodgers always gets the clicks. It was announced Thursday that yes, in fact, newsflash, breaking news to nobody, Rodgers and the Jets were parting ways after 2 seasons. I mean, I'd love to say what was your reaction, but you were probably just like, it's another day at the office. Aaron Rodgers, what is he, 40? How old is he now?
41.
He's 41, right? Yeah. So he's 41. He's still at the tail end of the season. Looked like he could, sling it. Does he retire, or where do you think he goes next? Everyone's saying maybe the Steelers. I think the Raiders could be an interesting option. Or does the dude go back into the darkness and retire, call it a day? We've had a lot of debates whether or not it just Rodgers doesn't have the same fight. He just doesn't. It's not like he's done ayahuasca. He's kind of like, I'm at peace. I've 4-time MVP winner. Like, what is his next move, you think, Ty? What's smart for him?
So, yeah, I'm actually writing a piece on USA Today about this. I think his best fit is the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, you look at the Raiders roster right now, they have a legitimate, bona fide emerging star and tight end and Brock Bowers, a decent receiving corps, a decent offensive line. You probably need to upgrade the O-line. And if you plug Aaron Rodgers in, they can be competitive in the AFC West. Now, they won't win it because you got the Chiefs there, you got the Chargers and the Broncos as playoff teams. But the Raiders are in a position where they have no starting quarterback in their roster. We know Aaron Rodgers wants to start, and Aaron Rodgers will be a perfect bridge quarterback for the next QB in Las Vegas, whether they draft a quarterback this year or next year. You probably would say Aaron Rodgers has a year or two left based on his performance, especially at the end of last season. Aaron Rodgers had a pretty good finish despite the Jets' record. So I hear the Steelers. The Steelers have a more win-now team. However, I'm hearing that they're most likely going to re-sign Russell Wilson back or Justin Fields. And you look at the type of offense Pittsburgh runs, it's more catered to Fields and Wilson. So to me, Rodgers' best case scenario is he goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. He'll be a starter. He'll be in a competitive division. You got a veteran head coach in Pete Carroll. They should have a really good defense because Pete Carroll is a defensive-minded football coach. And so Aaron Rodgers could end his career back on the West Coast in Las Vegas.
And you got to feel good about even though Pete's a defensive guy, the guys under Pete's tutelage, from Leinart to Geno Smith to however many other guys. I had a whole list of them, and now I've lost my train of thought.
Russell Wilson,
right? Russell, thank you, thank you, Russell. So for me, it's like players like to play. I can't picture Rodgers going back to another New York media. I think he's going to like it in Vegas. I think it's a better landing spot. Those guys are going to take care of him. He'll have creative control. Chip Kelly's his offensive coordinator. Like you said, he's going to have a great fun target in Bowers. And it's like that market's different than the Jets market, I think. So expectations are kind of low still, you know. I mean, Raider fans are devout, they are devoted, but I think that's my favorite landing spot. I posted something on Instagram today where I was like, you can only pick two, and I gave several options, one of them which was also retirement. But it's interesting. Do you feel like people are, and by the way, a lot of even a Steeler, was it a Steelers DB said, we don't want you here. So I think people are rubbed wrong with Rodgers. Do you think he deserves that? Do you think it's brought on by him? And then I know we need to wrap things up, but it's really interesting, like sort of the legacy of Rodgers as you've you've turned 41, and you feel like you still have something left in the tank. But literally, like, there's that meme where it's Heath Ledger in The Joker, where he's walking out of the hospital and the hospital behind him like completely explodes, right? Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, like completely like new regime was brought in.
Right.
Can we blame it all on Rodgers? And how does Rodgers, like, how does he feel that his legacy is? Has it been changed? Has it been tainted? Do you come back? Do you hang it up? I just don't think you can hang it up after what happened in New York.
Yeah, Deshaun Elliott, Steelers safety, actually said that about Rodgers. Is like, we don't want Rodgers in Pittsburgh. And I mean, when you look at everything that comes with Rodgers, I can see why a lot of teams are like, no, because I mean, the Jets pretty much catered to everything Rodgers wanted. And at 41 years old, Rodgers' next stop, no matter which team it is, they are not going to cater to every player Rodgers wants in the building, the offensive coordinator Rodgers wants in the building. Rodgers is going to have to fit their system, their scheme, and he's going to have to adjust a little bit. It's not going to be an organization that's built for Aaron Rodgers to succeed and built for him just to be comfortable, and everybody else has to acquiesce to Aaron Rodgers' needs. So he's going to have to swallow his pride and adjust to that type of scenario. And to me, I believe the Raiders are the best for that because you have a veteran head coach in Pete Carroll. You know what you're going to get. You have Tom Brady as a owner too. So, those two guys, they have a relationship. Tom Brady can kind of help things along, mend fences, build that relationship. And more so as maybe the Giants or the Steelers. The Steelers aren't going to put up with Aaron Rodgers' shenanigans. Mike Tomlin is not going to do that. And to me, they don't have the roster and they don't run the offense that Aaron Rodgers would be a fit in. They like more mobile quarterbacks. They're going to run the football. They're going to play kind of this smash mouth AFC North kind of brand of Pittsburgh football. And that's not really Aaron Rodgers. So that's why I think if it's not retirement, it's Las Vegas for Rodgers.
Ooh, and that is where we're going to end the show. I love it. Tyler Dragon, always dropping it like it's hot. He keeps it so real, keeps it so honest. All right, let's do this again. Again, just because there's no football does not mean we cannot still spill the tea on the NFL. We've got free agency coming up. We've got the combine at the end of the month. We've got the draft later in April. So for Believe in Rams, this was a delicious show. Tyler, have an amazing, amazing Valentine's Day. Always so great to see you, to work with you. I'm Erin Coscarelli. That's a wrap for Believe in Rams. We will be on again next week. Bye, guys.